Awesome. Okay, so what I was thinking when I was wondering what I should create for this marketing playbook, um, what I thought first, I thought, oh, I can share some of the really exciting things different marketers are doing. But when I kept coming across where people are at, and that we are usually people with limited resources, limited time, limited budgets to do marketing, I thought I wanted to bring it right back to basics. And the basics that I'm going to be sharing will carry with it a lot of gravitas, because I kind of feel like when we think about it, I want to make sure that we've got the right strategy rather than giving you some sexy little tactics, because sometimes we get really excited by the next shiny thing that's come out, and that may not necessarily be the best way to create a good marketing approach. And I found that the best marketers all have different kind of tactics, but one thing they do amazingly well is they have a really good strategy and they go out there and they apply it. So that's kind of my thought today is I want to kind of teach you more around the strategy, and we'll share some tactics as we go along that. At the same time, I'll mix in a few of the amazing marketing little secrets that some other people have been sharing with me, because I've had the good fortune of sharing stages and boardrooms with some of the most amazing marketers in the world, and keynoted at the future of marketing. So I know kind of where they're going, and after a while you realize that a lot of it is fairly, it's the strategy is usually the same. It's just that every now and then a tactic might change, but if you're doing the right stuff on a strategy, you can get some good results. So my idea again is, how can we help you with some of the marketing and make it nice and simple? Again, my thoughts are, if we just get the basics right, we don't have to worry about looking for the fancy shiny next object. We're going to get some good results. So one of the first things you'll notice in my playbook, and if you feel like you can always pull that up as a second screen, or alternatively just download it later on, is that there's kind of three kind of core phases to good marketing. One, to attract potential customers, and to nurture them through that, to convert them from that attraction stage into becoming interested to enough that they're going to purchase from us, and then following it up with having a system that delights them in the experience that we can create for them. And how do we get them coming back? How do we get them booking over and over again? And I'll kind of take you through some of those things in a little while. But if you were to think of a one pager of what good marketing often has now, from an attraction perspective, some of the best marketers I'm seeing do this consistently is they have some sort of short form marketing. So it might be an Instagram reel, it might be a carousel post, it's going out there in some sort of social media. At the same time, what they have is they're creating, the movement now is towards magnets. So I'm sure we've heard of, let's say for example, a list of 100 things that you can do on your next trip. A lot of people are looking now for micro magnets, and micro magnets at the moment are really, really simple things that people can do or use right there and then. So it's almost like they can do it in under 5 minutes. It's not going to take them a lot of time. So it could be a free guide, it could be a free deal, it could be, you probably have never heard of this island before, but just giving them some sort of win quite quickly. And then another one, really simply put, is workshops, events, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a Zoom, a meetup, or an actual night where people are coming into our travel agency to experience something. So that's kind of a good basic nutshell of attraction. We can then think of, how do we nurture those people? So we could be having chats with them, whether it's on social media, that could be automated, or we could be doing it ourselves. It could be through emails, where it's an email newsletter, or it could be updates around different components. We might think of, how do we shift someone that we've come across to get ready to buy from us? We can create, or we could have documents of some sort, whether it's a brochure, whether it's a PDF outlining travel destinations, but at the same time including social proof. We want to make sure, I've just got to let someone in, give me 2 seconds here, if I can do that. Admit them there, yes, back into that one. One of the other things that we want to do is we want to have an appointment engine, so it makes it really easy for people to, whether it's to book a session to come into our bricks and mortar business if they're doing that, or to book a call with us and a sort, a clear offer, and then some personal touch. And then finally, once we've made the deal through our good offer, compelling offer, how do we make sure we create amazing hero experience, and how do we get them to become a referral engine for us, and then how do we keep them as a loyal customer? So that's just a really good way to think of, from a visual perspective, of what our marketing should be, and what, for most people I come across, the best marketers in the world use a similar kind of approach. So what I wanted to do now was to take you through a couple of activities. Now, I'm not going to get you to do all of them. Rather, I want this to sort of almost be like a way for you to think of, okay, maybe I already know these things, but I actually, or maybe I don't, I need to go back and do that. So rather than making this a 4-hour marketing workshop where we've got hands on, I want to show you the kind of content and questions I've created in this marketing playbook for you, so that you're really clear about, that you're ticking all of the boxes to have the right strategy. So from a strategic perspective, we really want to make sure that we're clear about who we're serving. And probably a better way of putting this is actually to flip it on its head, and is, who do we not want to serve? And I can't remember what her name was, but it was a woman, I think she was from Melbourne. She did, or Sydney, she did lots of tours, and she was taking people on tours as well. And she was saying, no, we don't want these types of people. So we might go, hey, here are the 3 types of people we don't want as a customer. And these are the 3 types of problems or desires they have. And, this is where they're hanging out. So pretty simple stuff. But again, if you haven't got that down, that means that that's some homework for you to consider. Something that is really important is the visibility piece. How do they discover you? Is it through an internet search? Maybe not. Is it through social media? Probably more likely nowadays. Is it from uh, referral from the people around you? Is it something else? I'm not sure what those are going to be for you, but I'm kind of curious if you can just pop down in the message little chat. Where do most of your people find out about you, or where have they kind of found out about you? Put it in the chat box for me now, so I kind of get a bit of an idea about where they might be finding you. Don't be shy. Oh, referrals. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Good. Word of mouth. Excellent. Thanks for sharing. Social media. Excellent. Referrals and Google search. Google search. Great. And referrals, beautiful. So a couple of things I just want to piggyback on some of those things, mainly referral, beautiful. I've found that, curious for those that were getting the Google search, do you have a pretty active Google business profile? You know how you can create your Google My Business. If you're not familiar with it, if you've never used it before, it's basically, if you just type in Google My Business into Google, it will come up how you can create a Google business profile. Why this is really good is you can add videos, you can add photos, you can add testimonials, and because when Google is using its search engine and search algorithms, if people are referring to you or they're looking at your Google My Business profile, it just puts you up a lot higher than other people. So sometimes I kind of almost think of Google My Business almost as an alternative social media. So if you weren't going to do social media, you could just do everything on Google My Business, and you would arguably get maybe about sort of 50% of the results just doing that. So little tip there for you. Okay. All right. So let's come back to this visibility piece. Again, if we know where our leads are coming from, then you might just ask yourself that kind of question. What's one way we could increase visibility fast for November or December? Again, you might be doing this already, but you could be asking for Google reviews. One of the things that we do with our clients, I usually walk around with it. I don't know if you've come across them before, but they are, what are they? They are those, when you get like a little card that's got like an inbuilt tap thing like that. I can't remember the name of it, but basically I can actually get them hold my phone up. It's not a scan, they just tap it and HFC. Okay, beautiful. Thanks, Jack. They tap it and then it comes straight up to profile and they can do a review really easy. So if we want more reviews, really important that we try and make it as easy as we can for the people around us. Okay, um, I want to share with you what I call a thought grenade. And I love this line. It's not mine, but this came from a guy by the name of Alex Hormozy. If you've heard of him, type a Y in the chat box. So Alex Hormozy is this guy, and this is him dressed up. He normally just wears his gym singlet. He is a beast of a guy. He made his fortune by running and creating a chain of fitness gyms. I think he sold them for $60 million or something like that. But he is unequivocally unique. He is who he is. He doesn't bother trying to be anyone else. But one of the things that he said is no one knows you exist. Now, I know people do know, but when we think, oh, yeah, everyone knows about us, the reality is people don't know about us. And just to put things in kind of perspective, and yes, he's got resources, he's got people who can do stuff for him. He creates, or they create, or put out 30,000 pieces of content a year. I know it's kind of ridiculous. And again, this is an extreme. This is not necessarily what everyone has to do, but it just shows you that there are a lot of people that are doing, at least 3 pieces of content a day. Some are doing 10. And they mix it up. Yes, the more content you need to create, the more you need to have variety and some team alternating and things like that. But just to get your head around there, if we're not creating content on a social perspective, people won't know that you're out there. All right, so that's a social media thing. I think I mentioned this. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this at our keynote, or sort of maybe it was in a panel. I can't remember who it was. There was someone from Balmain who had a great quiz that they'd created, and quizzes can be a great way to create interest, especially on social media. This is the one that we created, ideamaverick.com/quiz. It's all mobile developed, and we get a lot of leads from that from both social media without even doing ads, just posting it and having it as a pop up on our website. So it's a simple way to create visibility. I'm kind of curious. Does anyone here have any other ways that they get visibility? Oh, Jack can't see my screen. Okay. You can't see it also? All right, I'll do it. I'll do it back in a second. Okay, let's go back to my screen. Let's go back to my screen. Sorry about that one. All right. So hopefully you can see that. If someone can unmute us just to let us know that you can see my screen, that would be great. Sorry about that. We seem to have lost somehow. You can see it again? Beautiful. Okay. I'm just double checking. Did you get to see this map at all? That was all right. Yep. Okay, so that was one of the early things there. I was talking about this image of the overall marketing plan, how to think of those 3 different phases: attract, convert, and delight and retain. And then we were talking about how do we create some clarity, and where do our new leads come from, and that no one knows you exist. And I also mentioned that this crazy guy, Alex Hormozy, goes to the extreme and creates 30,000 pieces of content a year. If you think he's successful, he recently did a launch that made over, I think it was $120 million. And he sold over 3 million books in the shortest period ever. So he got a Guinness Book of Records over, totally trounced someone like the Harry Potter series and all that type of stuff there. But he did it with some methodologies and stuff like that. But just showing you he knows some ways to get some stuff out there. This was a little bit of a picture of my quiz, and yeah, okay. So we've got our visibility sorted. Now, I want you to think of is what might be some ways that you can build confidence. So Confidence, we all know, trust is built on expectation and experience. So one of the ways that we can do that is the sooner we can give them an experience of what they might be expecting and over deliver, then they're going to go, wow. So I know that, let's say if someone makes an inquiry, I will maybe send them a PDF of my book, or send them a physical copy, or I'll send them a really comprehensive checklist, something that shows that I can help them out really quickly and I've got good quality content. It could be a testimonial. These are things I have on my website, some social proof, testimonials, and in my clients, and that usually helps, get me establish authority and trust, and people go, okay, he's not working with some Joe Blow at the local garage helping them to come up with better mechanics sort of stuff there. Once we've got that trust, and the next thing that we want to think about is how can we convert the interest into bookings. And again, this kind of comes down to what are all of those little mini deliveries or expectations that we can deliver on, because the more experiences that they go, wow, they did that, they did this, they did that, it almost makes it a no-brainer for them. It could be a checklist, it could be a travel budget. There's a few things that you could do. So I want you to think about, for your business, when someone's inquiring, how do you take them to that next step? Here is a little bit of an example for me, which is around a QR code. So actually, by the way, this might be a good one for you to download. I should share this one for you. This is a guide I created for creating unique value propositions. So it's good if you want to differentiate yourself from your competitors. But yeah, basically if you scan the QR code. But even if you don't, the concept is, how could you create someone or create an easy, downloadable, value-added thing that made people go, wow, I like working with them because they did this for us. Pretty simple kind of concept around that. So I just want to double check to see how we are going with that one. Okay, we've got that sort of stuff there. All right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. All right, let's keep going back here. Let's go on to our next little piece. Oh, here's another thing that I do. You won't be able to sign up for this one, but I have, again, pop-ups on my form that might say, hey, download the rapid idea generation checklist. It could be download your guide as to, the 7 hottest islands in Southeast Asia. Or it could be the five most affordable yet beautiful European countries to visit that aren't overpopulated. Like, that's a big one. If you can work out, I'm sure everyone would know about it. But you get the idea. It's how can we do it? One of the things that comes to mind when we think about conversion is the biggest roadblock for someone to purchase anything is usually inertia. They're going, why should I do it now? It's like it's never urgent for them unless they've left it right to the last minute. But usually someone's going, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll look at it next day. So part of our challenge is to look at how can we create some urgency. And I think I might have mentioned this in one of the panels I was moderating down there in Radelaide. And there's a couple things that you can do. And one of them is down the bottom line, I say email subject lines with urgency. And I learnt this from a really, really brilliant marketer who said, Nils, you need to use the word only whenever you want to sell something or have a message that goes in your email. And so he gave me like a stack of examples. So for example, only the first 20 people to respond or to subscribe will get a a 2 hour boutique planning session with me, or only first 10 people to book will get a bonus luggage deal from whatever it might be. But you kind of get the idea. But it really does work. And so if you're ever going to do something with like that, you make sure you have it in the subject line, and you make sure you have it in the first line, and you make sure you have it in the PS line there at the bottom. Those three different areas are really important. The other thing that can help, this is probably more around positioning, is to have the concept of exclusivity, or that why you are good, or why we should trust you. And I may have mentioned these three words, but they are one of the most powerful words to think of when positioning yourself being different from another travel agency: first, only, and most. So um, we were the only travel, or the first travel agency to organise group tours to Antarctica from Australia. Or we are the only travel agent in Australia to specialise in Himalayan rock climbing adventures. Or we're the travel agent with the most number of group tours to China. They're just some sort of little simple little things there that can help to make sense. So what I thought would be really good, I'll just show you those. Lost the screen again. My apologies, guys, losing that one. So what I'd love you to do, using, let's start off, if you can have a quick go on this in the chat box and think of either doing something that uses the word the first, um, only, or most. So the only travel agency to do blah, 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 or the first travel agency to do X, Y, and Z, or the travel agency with the most qualified staff, or the most number of deals, or whatever that might be. Does that make sense? Have a go. It's going to challenge you out a little bit. Just I want you to think of how could you claim something in your business there. Kind of curious as to what you can do. Type something out there. I'll do one. I'll try and do one right now. Just doing one. My spelling may not be the best, but it was the first person to facilitate a TED conference in Australia. And for me, it was like, like TEDx, whatever it is. It was so many years ago, but yeah, some people love putting it. Other speakers love it. I'm a TEDx speaker, and I just go, hey, you know what? I emceed the first TEDx conference in Australia. Like, bang, does enough for us. Bron, love yours. First 10 bookings will receive a 10% discount on insurance when using that. Beautiful, awesome. So keep having a go at that. Can really work well. And now that we've done that one, let's try one more. And this was, I want you to think of the words only in another email sort of subject line. So think of this in a subject line. Again, if you don't like only, you could say, as Bron just did then, the first, that way. So I'll just put that in there. Subject line, or the first. Have a go at that one. See if you can have a go with the subject line. Like what would be something that compels them into taking action? What would make them need to get in contact with you soon? Only the next 20 bookings will get VIP access to the Michelin hat restaurant in Prague, or whatever. Only available for the next 24 hours. Beautiful. Only available for the next 10 subscribers. All that type of stuff there. Beautiful. Okay. So let me come back to my sharing my slides there, if I can make this happen. And it's unusual that it's not doing this for some reason. Let's try again. Okay. Feel free to unmute if you find I disappear and it loses out there. So just to recap, this was one of the slides I was talking about around the exclusivity and urgency examples there. So next question, or next challenge to think about from marketing, is a retention perspective. So how do you keep clients coming back? And by that, what we want to think of is, what are you currently doing to re-engage previous clients or customers? Something that I do quite often is I'm always creating like mini magnets. So it might be something like, you know, ten emerging trends, and I might do it for an industry or 10 emerging trends for leaders in 2026. And what I generally do is I'll make a call and I'll go, "Hey Michelle, it's Nils Vesk here." Often I don't. So this is usually what happens is I don't get through. So I'll get a voice message and I'll say, "Hey Michelle, Nils Vesk here. Just wanted to see if it was okay if I could send you through a really cool tool that our clients are loving at the moment. It's called the 10 Emerging Trends for Leaders. If that's okay with you, I'll email that through to you. But hope you're well. Talk to you soon." Then I will follow that up with a text message because most people will prefer to read a text message than a voicemail. And it goes, "Hey Michelle, Nils Vesk here. Just left you a long voice message. I've created this little thing. Hopefully that's okay for you to for me to email through to you." I email it anyway, but they feel like they're being asked for permission. And yeah, so that's kind of my process. And obviously, if I get onto them, I just go, "Hey Michelle, um, the reason for my call." I don't even wait to sort of say, "How are you?" and things like that. I usually go, "Hey, Michelle," or I might say, "How are you?" But the reason for this call, I know you're busy, but we just created this great little thing. Our clients are raving about it. Would it be all right if I email it to you? And then they go, "Oh, yeah, sure." And I usually kind of then I evaluate whether I need to go further with a conversation around it. But very, very simple way to do that. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, results. I'm always surprised at the lack of metrics that people, even small businesses, have around what their key metric might be. Is it the number of inquiries? Is it the number of repeat bookings? I'm not sure what it's going to be for you, but we need to think about making sure we do have a metric and that we're doing what that might be because then it's really easy. And I'm just trying to see if I have it, but literally my my one of my scoreboard is this kind of I got them from it's weird like a booking agency like what do they call them, bookies where they it just has these numbers. On one side it has 0 and the other side has 9, so I can get up to 99, and I've got two of those, so I can flip that over every day because I've got my target as to how many of these inquiries I'm aiming for and the number of bookings that I want to get from it. So I'm going to press pause for a moment there on the recording there, and would love to know, are there any questions about that sort of first part about being a bit more strategic about our marketing? Are there any questions, or maybe just something that surprised you, or maybe you've got something that feels, you know what, we're actually doing this and I feel that works better. Kind of love to know what's going through your mind. Type something into the chat box, or just give us a 0 if you're liking it. That sounds bad, doesn't it? Maybe a 10 if you're liking it. If it's reminding. Sometimes these things, might seem a bit, "Oh, yeah, I've got that sorted," and that's okay. But it's really important that we make sure we're getting those basics done really well, because great marketing comes from executing the basics really, really well. Or unmute yourself if you want. Meg? Yeah. So if I was thinking of over 65s, I would actually say, you know what, I'm going to take this on the chin and I'm going to go snail mail. I'm going to go actual. I'm going to spend some money. I'm going to do. I would probably move for something like postcards, because depending on what your CRM is, Meg, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't say every, but a lot of good CRM softwares now usually have some kind of paid relationship with a postcard distributor that will actually put in their name, address, and a message. And so what you could do is on all you've got to think of is, well, what would be the compelling piece that you have on that, on the front side that kind of explains, why you're sending it to them, or is it, to encourage them, or is it to go memories of your last trip, now it's time to think of your next trip or whatever it might be. But the interesting thing is a lot of these can be done cheaper than actually sending normal snail mail in Australia. And this is going to sound really bad for the environment, but I don't know if you know this, but you can send a letter or a parcel, often from Hong Kong to Sydney, cheaper than you could send it from, let's say I'm in Sydney CBD to the North Shore. There are a lot of those things out there, and I don't have. Again, it's going to depend on what your CRM is there, but there are often, and again, even if you can't do it directly through the CRM, you might be able to export and then go to one of these postcard providers that do that. So even though it might be coming from Hong Kong, it might be actually cheaper to do it that way than sending it from an Australian one, because Australia Post, and I shouldn't say this, they're one of my clients, they everything seems to go up and up and up with it. Does that make sense? So yeah, and again, sometimes we think, we've got to do social media. Depending, there'll be some that are, but others go, okay, now what's gonna resonate more for them? That's the way I'd go about that. Good question. Anyone else with any kind of questions around that first phase or first stage? Okay. All right, I'll get back into this one here and go into share. Okay. All right. So let's go into some ways that we can share content in a very captivating way that is also fun to do, because I think the biggest challenge is often when we're doing things ourselves, like I'm time poor, or I've got my team telling me I've got to do this and do that. And I want to share with you a formula that can make this really easy. So there are kind of 8 steps to this. And what I found myself doing, and I do this and I'll show you an example of it, but I think of 8 different areas. So I have a little sheet, and you'll find this in your workbook. And the first thing is I can look over my calendar and I just go, what did I do last week? And I can look at my calendar of, maybe it's clients I met with, it might have been destinations I was with, or people I was with, whether it was geographical and sort. And I can just jot them down in bullet points really quickly and go, okay, I can come back to that. Then I might go, what adventures or holidays are you planning for clients right now? Now, for me, my version of that is, what am I creating right now? So I might go, for me, it'd be go, actually just creating a, marketing workshop for ATAC, or just been creating a reinvent your reputation program for people wanting to get stand out at work. That's kind of good. For you guys, it could be, you know, planning a really unique adventure for people that want to go to Hanoi and yeah, you know what, you could make it all up. You get the idea. Yeah. What have your clients been sharing about their holidays? So it might be upcoming or just finished. That can be really good. Just go, oh yeah, actually they just shared this. What's happening in your life or outside of your work? And then on the other 4 areas we can think about is what content you might be consuming. This can be interesting, because sometimes people want to know what you're doing, because they might want to know, um, let's say for example, you're reading a book on the history of Rangoon, or some of the um, Angkor Wat, the temples of Angkor Wat, whatever it might be. What are people talking about in your industry right now? And this is kind of good, is how are they right or wrong? And I'll come back to this in a moment, because I really like focusing on the wrong when you hear about wrong advice, which leads to the next one. What advice have you heard that is wrong? And what are the top 5 of these content areas that energize you the most this week? So let me give you an example, and this is really rough, and but yeah, I just basically jot it down in my little journal over a coffee in the morning. Do this about once a week, and I go through calendar, what happened. I went to Tasmania, Hobart, blah blah blah. Some of the things. Oh, I shared the stage with Gina Chick. I don't even know her. Um, and once I've done that, then I basically go and sort of circle them. So coming back to this part, what are the top 5 of these content areas that energize you the most this week? So then I go, okay, I'm going to create five emails to make that happen. And I'll just kind of pause on this for a moment. Um, and what I mean by doing the 5 emails is that I find that writing an email then gives me either a script or a brief that I can give someone. It sort of sets it up. So it's almost, if you don't like the word email, think of it as sort of the concept of what I want to say. And I can choose, because I might not want to email everyone. I might want to obviously send out 5 emails, but if I've got a promotion going on, I might want to send out 3 emails. But I can think of those sort of 5 emails as scripts. So I could either say, okay, I'm going to send out 1 email this week. And for those other 4 ones, I'm going to turn them into, one's going to be a reel, the other one's going to be a carousel, and the other one's just going to be a blog post that I put up there. So it can really help to structure those things, and it's fairly easy. And when I say that I write an email, I kind of just draft really quickly my kind of core concepts, and then I leave it. I come back the next day. So I've written those 5 rough little email ideas, and then I put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, help me sharpen this up and do that. So it's still my core concept. I'm not saying, what can I write about today, ChatGPT, because I found that when I can bring in my unique perspective and say, I saw this the other day and it really frustrated me. So, give you an example. Um, I did a post the other day where I noticed that we'd been noticing that my daughter Lani had somehow started to get a lot of those colouring in books. She's only 6 years of age, and her creativity was going downhill, because as much as it looks nice to color in a coloring in book, she was then saying, "Oh, Papa, can you help me draw a giraffe? Or can you help me draw a unicorn?" And she used to be able to do those things. It's kind of like she was switching off her creativity. Anyway, it kind of frustrated me. So I wrote about that based on that. And it was just, it resonated really well with my audience to say, you ever felt like you've lost your creativity? Here's one of the reasons why. We're taught that we have to color within the lines. When we only play in constraints, we lose our creativity. So it was very different for me to going into Chat GPT and say, give me something to write about in creativity or innovation. It just wasn't going to, you know, and it didn't take me, actually, because it energized me and it was a real event. I only had to jot down a few things, and then Chat GPT made it look really cool. Does that make sense? Yep. So even though it will feel like a bit of work doing those first 5 things, again, it can be done really quickly.